Proposition 63, Firearms, Ammunition Sales, Initiative Statute. Plain language, increase regulation of guns and ammunition in California. What does it do? It requires individuals to pass a background check and obtain Department of Justice authorization to purchase ammunition. It prohibits possession of large-capacity ammunition magazines and requires their disposal as specified. It requires most ammunition sales to be made through licensed ammunition vendors and reported to the Department of Justice. It requires lost or stolen firearms and ammunition to be reported to law enforcement. It prohibits persons convicted of stealing a firearm from possessing firearms. It establishes new procedures for enforcing laws prohibiting firearm possession. It requires Department of Justice to provide information about prohibited persons to the Federal National Instant Criminal Background Check System. Under federal and state law, certain individuals are not allowed to have firearms. These prohibited persons include individuals convicted of felonies and some misdemeanors, such as assault and battery, individuals found by a court to be a danger to themselves or others due to mental illness, and individuals with a restraining order against them. In California, individuals who are not allowed to own firearms are also not allowed to have ammunition. Both federal and state law include various regulations related to firearm sales, including the licensing of firearm dealers. Such regulations include mandatory background checks, the confiscation of firearms from individuals no longer allowed to own them, limits on the type of firearms that can be bought, a 10-day waiting period before a dealer may give a firearm to a buyer, and requirements for recording and reporting firearm sales. Fees charged to firearm dealers and buyers generally offset the state's cost to regulate firearm sales. Regulation of ammunition sales. The following information is skippable if you're not interested in details. You can just skip ahead until the marker at the lower right-hand corner disappears. Doggone it, people! Stop calling me while the Daryl Johnson show is on. Alright. Prior to this year, the state did not regulate ammunition sales in the same manner as firearms. In July 2016, the state enacted legislation to increase the regulation of ammunition sales. Such regulations include: beginning in January 2018, individuals and businesses will be required to obtain a 1-year license from DOJ to sell ammunition. Beginning July 2019, ammunition dealers will be required to check with the DOJ at the time of purchase that individuals seeking to buy ammunition are not prohibited persons. This would not apply to people with concealed carry permits. Additionally, the dealer would be required to submit information about the purchase and the purchaser to the Department of Justice database. Beginning January 2018, state law will require that most ammunition sales, including internet and out-of-state sales, take place through a licensed ammunition dealer. Beginning July 2019, most California residents will be prohibited from bringing ammunition into the state without first having the ammunition delivered to a licensed ammunition dealer. There is also recently enacted legislation that further limits the ownership of large-capacity magazines, which are guns that can shoot a lot of bullets in a short period of time, and a penalty for filing false, lost, or stolen firearm reports to law enforcement. Long story short, Proposition 63 aims to replace and update California's gun and ammunition laws. It creates requirements to buy ammunition. Ammunition dealers would be required to check with the DOJ that individuals seeking to buy ammunition are not prohibited individuals at the time of purchase. The Department of Justice could also charge such individuals up to $1 per transaction. It requires licenses to sell ammunition. It requires individuals and businesses to obtain a 1-year license from the DOJ to sell ammunition, but exempts individuals and businesses that only sell small amounts of ammunition. It creates a misdemeanor penalty for failure to follow vendor licensing requirements. Purchasing ammunition out of state. As mentioned earlier, most California residents would be prohibited from bringing ammunition into the state without first having the ammunition delivered to a licensed ammunition dealer. However, Prop 63 would make it effective January 2018 instead of July 2019 as currently scheduled. An infraction would be established for failing to comply. Removing firearms from convicts. If a person is convicted of a crime that makes them ineligible to have firearms, Prop 63 requires courts to inform the person that they must give up their firearm, whether they turn it over to law enforcement, sell the firearm to a licensed firearm dealer, or give the firearm to a licensed firearm dealer for storage. Individuals and dealers must report the loss or theft of ammunition within 2 to 5 days or be charged with a misdemeanor. Except for a few exceptions, after 2017 it would be illegal to possess a large capacity magazine. In California, that means more than 10 rounds of ammunition. Theft of a firearm worth $950 or more would be upgraded from a misdemeanor to a felony, punishable by up to 3 years in state prison and the loss of the ability to own a firearm for 10 years. Fiscal impact. The fiscal impact of Prop 63 would be increased state and local court costs and law enforcement costs of tens of millions of dollars annually in new procedures, regulatory, and incarceration expenses. Before we continue, a special message just for you. Now available for the fall 2016 election, the Daryl Johnson Show Voting Aid, complete with titles and brief summaries of each proposition along with spaces for your notes and verdict for you to print out and take with you to the voting booth. It's completely free, no strings, no mailing list, no catch, just helping out the fellow man. Email the Daryl Johnson Show at gmail.com. You can write me cute little notes if you like, but to receive the guide, all you have to do is type Voting Aid in the subject line and the power is yours. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming. From Yes on Prop 63. Prop 63 will keep us safer by reducing gun violence. Police in Dallas doing their job. A nightclub in Orlando. An office holiday party in San Bernardino. A church in Charleston. A movie theater in Aurora. An elementary school in Newtown. Who's next? More than 300 Americans are shot each day, more than 80 of them fatally. It's time to take action and keep guns and ammo out of the wrong hands. Prop 63 will close loopholes to prevent dangerous criminals, domestic abusers, and the dangerously mentally ill from obtaining and using deadly weapons. Right now, thousands of dangerous felons remain illegally armed because we don't ensure that people convicted of violent crimes actually relinquish their guns after conviction. The Department of Justice identified more than 17,000 felons and other dangerous people with more than 34,000 guns, including more than 1,400 assault rifles. As law enforcement and public safety officials, we're not surprised that such groups as the NRA and its affiliates oppose Prop 63. Make no mistake, the so-called Coalition for Civil Liberties is actually an NRA front group. Prop 63 will strengthen our background check and ensure that California law enforcement shares data about dangerous people with the FBI. All of these people support Proposition 63. From No on Prop 63. Prop 63 would divert scarce law enforcement resources away from local law enforcement and overburden an already overcrowded court system with the enforcement of flawed laws that will turn harmless law-abiding citizens into criminals. In fact, New York recently abandoned its enforcement of a similar proposal after it was passed, finding that it was impossible to implement and effectively maintain. Prop 63 usurps the legislature, strictly limiting its ability to amend voter-enacted propositions or fix problems, forever saddling California with this flawed proposal. Prop 63 will not make anyone safer. To the contrary, by directing resources away from measures that are truly effective at preventing the criminal element from acquiring guns and ammunition, it would make us all less safe. The immense public resources that Prop 63 would waste should be used to hire more officers and target, investigate, and prosecute dangerous individuals and terrorists. Gavin Newsom refuses to acknowledge that the Orlando and San Bernardino attacks were ISIS-inspired Islamic radicalism. It is the same ideology that motivated the 9/11 terror attacks and killed 2,996 innocents. Exploiting terrorist attacks to push sweeping laws affecting law-abiding people's civil liberties is misleading, wrong, and dangerous. None of the proposed laws would prevent terrorist attacks. The reality is terrorists can always find means to wreak havoc. A box cutter in a plane on 9/11, a homemade bomb in Boston, or a truck in Nice, France. Terrorists and criminals get weapons from the black market, make them, or steal them from law-abiding citizens. Finally, these people hate Prop 63. This is one of those times when I would like to remind the viewer that we are about to enter the opinion section. Because it's an opinion, it's not a fact. Furthermore, there is a possibility that my opinion may be different from yours, and I want to warn you that you may hear a different opinion. If you are unsure about what an opinion is, or if you have the stamina to tolerate one, please go back and watch the second video of the series entitled, What is an Opinion? And now, a 5-second courtesy warning to allow you to click the escape link and avoid the risk of being triggered. Okay, while my opinions on this issue are probably not in step with my California brethren, I probably don't have any unique thoughts on it. If you are a very emotional person and feel passionately about this subject, it's likely that no facts on earth will change your mind. But if you have an open mind about the subject and you're simply interested in ending gun violence, here are my thoughts on the issue. 1. The goal is to stop senseless mass shootings. 2. The theory behind most gun control is that if we ban guns, it will stop mass shootings. So basically, less guns, less shooting. 3. However, there are more guns in America than people. There is more ammo than guns. You will never control all the guns or ammo. All you can do is create less of it. The problem with that is, if you have 99% good people with guns and 1% bad people with guns, all these laws do is keep the guns from the 99% of good people. Because the bad people, they break the law. That's what bad people do. So if they want to get a gun or any weapon of destruction, they will get it. Telling them that it's illegal won't help. So these gun laws only reduce guns from the population of good people. 4. But what about Australia and England? Australia and England are islands, and there were never more guns than Englishmen or Australians. And they aren't on the border of Mexico or South America. 5. People keep saying, legalize drugs, you can't stop it anyway. People are going to do what they're going to do. Okay, well, why do you think guns will be any different? Alcohol control didn't stop drinking. Drug control didn't stop drugging. Birth control doesn't stop accidents, and gun control won't stop shootings. 6. Well, what's the problem, Daryl? Well, Timmy, we have a culture problem. We've always had easy access to guns, but somehow we didn't have this problem until recently. Do we blame the skyrocketing of teenage pregnancy on the lack of genital control? No, because the same genitals existed in 1935. This is a culture issue. Do we have rising divorce rates because we don't have divorce control? No, it's a cultural issue. People are shooting, bombing, and manslaughtering because it's a culture problem, and until you fix that, you will never stop the shootings in America. If Prop 63 passes, there will still be more shootings, guaranteed. Because people who want guns and ammo will get guns and ammo, and it doesn't matter if you put your hands on your hips and say, Prop 63 says you can't do that. 7. And here, probably the most unpopular thing I'll say in this entire series, if you want to protect yourself in a country of guns, you should probably get a gun. I hope that none of you ever find yourself in that terrifying situation where you are the one in that nightclub or school office party. Little could be more terrifying than that moment of horror and helplessness, but the fact is, a determined shooter will always find a way to get a gun. If you found yourself in that room in what could be your final 2 minutes of life, would you prefer to be trapped in a room where the only person with a gun is the shooter? 8. If it was possible to press a button and delete all of the guns and put up a sign down at the border that says, no more guns, por favor, then the gun control people would probably have a point, aside from the Second Amendment. That might even make most people safer. But since that's not possible, these laws make America less safe, because if only some people have guns and those some people are criminals, that's not better than criminals and good people having guns. That's, worse. That's worse. If you vote yes on Prop 63, you are voting to increase gun and ammo regulation in California. If you vote no on Prop 63, then you are not doing that. The Daryl Johnson Show says no on Prop 63.